All right. Well, good morning, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants event. My name is Joe Grabowski, and I'll be your host for today. Happy World Water Day, everybody. It's always a date that we like to mark with some events around water. In fact, we just launched a new playlist on our YouTube channel about water. So a lot of our past events are up there. If you do want to check them out this week, next week, or really anytime, you can find them there. So we have a great live event in store for today because it's always fun to be doing these events live as opposed to checking out recorded ones. And we are going to spend a little time with OceanWise. So let me tell you a little bit about the plan for today. We're going to talk a little bit about the ways of water and water stewardship. So I'm sure students have wondered about how we impact the earth, how interconnected nature is. And that's what we're going to talk today, how water connects everything. Water, we couldn't survive without it. It is a blue planet, not a green planet. It is a very blue planet. So our oceans, lakes, rivers, streams, they are very important. Doesn't matter if you're landlocked, doesn't matter where in the world you are. So today we'll be exploring a little bit of the history of waterways and connections with aquatic systems. And we're going to be doing that with Mala from OceanWise. So let me bring her in from backstage. Hey, Mala, how you doing?
Hello, everybody. I'm great, Joe. Thank you so much for asking. How are you?
Great. Great to have you joining us from the West Coast today, if I'm correct.
Yes, I am in lovely, snowy Toronto today.
All right. Very cool. Well, listen, let's get right into it. It's World Water Day. Lots to talk about, lots to think about. We've got classrooms across Canada and the US joining us. So let's talk water.
All right, let's do it. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining in today's session. As I mentioned, I am from Toronto, Ontario. So before getting the program started, I did want to do a land acknowledgement and just acknowledge the traditional territory that I'm speaking to you all from. But I'd love to hear where you're all tuning in from as well. So if you can, feel free to message me in the chat and let me know what state or province you're joining from. As mentioned, I'm from Toronto, Ontario, and this is the traditional territory of many different nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Huron-Wendat people. This land is also home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. And I just wanted to honor and extend my thanks to the communities that have been here since time immemorial, taking care of our wonderful land, sea, and sky. Now, one thing that I absolutely love about my job and about being an ocean educator is that I get to connect with people all around the world and share my love for the ocean with you all. So I'm looking at the chat and I'm seeing some folks mention that they're from Kingston, Ontario, Lake Tahoe in California. We got North Bay, Ontario, Sudbury. All right, so we got a couple on Ontarians, I guess we call them, in the live session today. Thank you so much for joining. Today's going to be super fun. As Joe mentioned, we're going to be exploring how we're all connected to each other through water. Now, I work for an incredible organization called OceanWise, as Joe mentioned, and we are an organization that is on a mission to protect and restore the world's oceans. I'm not sure if you can all see my presentation right now. Can you see it? Oh, there we go. Okay, sweet. Yes, so I work for an amazing organization called OceanWise, and we are trying to protect and restore the world's oceans. Now, we do that by working super, super hard with the support of many different teams and other organizations that all want to focus and work on, keeping the oceans safe and healthy for us and for the animals as well. My friends, I would love to know what comes to mind when you think of the ocean. So feel free to message me in the chat what some things are that come to mind. I know for me, I always think of animals. I love ocean animals. I think they're so cool. It's my favorite part of the ocean. More specifically, I always think about the deep sea because it's so mysterious and creepy and we don't know much about it. So I love thinking about the deep sea. I see Mrs. Bailey's classes in the chat, and they're mentioning that they always think of turtles, sharks, and whales. Fish swimming, waves, and water. Miss Smalley's classes who thinks of turtles, sharks, and whales. And there's a North Bay school that think of fish and sharks and dolphins, coral reefs. Maybe if there's a classroom that wanted to jump in and maybe share what they're thinking, if you want to jump on and.
All right, let me the pressure on someone. Let's go to Mr. M's class.
Anybody-
What do you think, Mr. M's class? What do you think about when you think about the ocean?
Autumn, what do you think?
I think
Oh, sorry, too much pressure. What do you think, Isa?
ice caps.
Ice caps.
Ooh, we don't get that often, but it's incredible that you're thinking of ice caps when you think of the ocean, for sure.
Anyone else?
Maybe I can take one more.
Arohi?
Like sharks, turtles, dolphins, and like sea plants.
Ooh, sharks,
Yeah.
turtles, and sea plants. Amazing. Yeah, for sure. You named a lot of really important animals. Sharks and turtles are both keystone species. Now, we might think that we're really far away from these animals. For example, I live in Toronto. I live in a big city. I don't have an ocean anywhere near me. But we're all more connected than we think. Right now, our oceans are facing a variety of different threats. They're facing a lot of different challenges, and we all have a role to play in the impact that our Earth and our ocean is facing. Ocean wise, we are trying to target three main issues that the ocean is facing, which include ocean pollution, overfishing, and climate change. And we do that with the help and support of a bunch of different teams that all work together, like our whales team, our plastics team, our youth and ed team. We have a bunch of scientists and researchers and educators working incredibly hard to continue learning and then share that knowledge with the public so that we can all come up with solutions together for our ocean. So I would like to give you all that challenge as well. As we go through today's program, I want us all to think about the different ways that we connect to water, B, what our impact might be, and C, what we might be able to do from home or as a school or as a family to maybe try and help protect our oceans. Now, to get started off in today's program, I want to test your ocean knowledge. So we are going to be doing some real quick ocean trivia here. If you all can, feel free to message me your answers in the chat so that we can get through it fairly quickly. We have a lot more activities later on in the program that I want to get to. So we're going to do some fun trivia. Send me your answers in the chat. We'll get started off with our first question. How many oceans are there on the Earth? Is there 1, 5, 7, and 10? Or 10? Our answers are coming in quick. Y'all did not waste any time with this one. I'm seeing a lot of votes for 5 or for 7. All right. I feel like I betrayed you all a little bit. I feel like I might have been a little sneaky with this one. It was a bit of a trick question. My friends, at Ocean Wise, we like to say that there's actually only one ocean because there's no barriers or walls in our lovely water. It's all connected. It's one giant body. So I started off with a little trick there. I'm sorry. I won't do it again. But yes, of course, our ocean is divided into different parts geographically, but altogether, water is all big ocean that we all equally rely on. All right, our next question here. Approximately 35 million jobs are linked to the ocean worldwide. Do we think that is true or false? If you're in a classroom and you have your camera on, feel free to show us some thumbs up or some thumbs down. Maybe, Joe, you can let me know what people are showing us on the screen.
You think, guys, thumbs up or thumbs down?
Stand up if you think it's true.
All right. I'm seeing some I think, Joe, it's pretty evenly balanced, right? Like lots of positives, lots of negatives, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, my friends, for this one, it's actually false. It's not 35 million. It's 350 million jobs that are linked to the ocean worldwide. People all around the world rely on the ocean for their source of income. So the ocean is really, really important, not only for the food that it provides us, but also for, the financial stability and the economy of many countries as well. A lot of people's livelihoods directly are influenced by the health of our oceans. All right, next question here. The ocean absorbs around 30% of carbon dioxide emissions that human activities generate every single year. True or false?
All right, let's check for some thumbs. I know the answers will come in via the side as well. Miss Smalley is saying nope. Her crew says nope, false. Let's see. No, thumbs up from that crew. Anything grade 4s? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Thumbs up.
Do not be.
All right, we have some ideas.
Not too bad. I think I was seeing mainly true. And if you guessed true, you would be correct. The answer is definitely true. The ocean actually acts as a carbon sink. So what that means is it absorbs and traps a lot of carbon dioxide. And it does it the same way that plants on land do, through photosynthesizing. You know, they trap all that carbon inside of it, and then they release that oxygen for us. So underwater plants like kelp and seaweed, algae, they are responsible for trapping around 31% of CO2 emissions and then release that oxygen back into the atmosphere for us. Even animals like whales act as a carbon capture. They keep all that carbon inside of them, and when they pass away and they sink to the bottom of the ocean, they take it with them and they trap it down there so it can't be released back into the atmosphere. So the ocean is an incredible tool when we think about ways to combat climate change as well. All right, next question here, and I believe the last one, another true or false. Life in the ocean produces more than 50% of oxygen in the atmosphere. I feel like I might have given that one away a little bit. What do we think?
All right, we'll pick on a few different classrooms. Thunder Bay, what do we think? Thumbs up, thumbs down? North Bay, what do we think? Thumbs up, thumbs down? Miss Bailey's crew, thumbs up, thumbs down? Thumbs up, yep. There'll be lots of thumbs up.
Lots of thumbs up. If you had your thumbs up, you are correct. Again, it is definitely true. The last question was asking how much carbon it traps. This question is asking how much oxygen is released. So plankton, seaweed, algae, and other organisms in the ocean photosynthesize, and that helps create a lot of oxygen that we breathe. Now, I know we've gotten some general knowledge on how we may rely and connect to the ocean, but let's take a closer look at what exactly we're going to be talking about and learning about today. My friends, today we will discuss how landlocked communities connect to the ocean. We're going to take a look at some threats that the ocean is currently facing, and then maybe we'll discuss some actions that we can take to protect our oceans. But I want to know how you all connect to water. What is a body of water near you that you connect to, or how do you see yourself connecting with water? Maybe we can go to some classes and we can share, and I'll also read the chat in a little bit.
Yeah, let's do that. Who shall we pick on first? Let's try Mrs. Bailey's class. What's a body of water near you guys?
What's the body of water we live nearby?
I don't know.
So we're just going to do this like this. Emily? Lake Ontario.
Okay, good one. What about Mr. Dunn's crew?
What do you want?
Lake Superior.
Lake Superior, sure.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Let's see. Here we go. We got some fantastic fives. What body of water is near you guys? The volume's not kicking in for some reason. Hopefully that gets a little better for us before Q&A time. All right. And I want to bring in Miss Smalley because I know they're further away than the classes, so they have a different body of water.
Lake Tahoe is our body of water.
Very cool.
Amazing. Thank you all so much for sharing. I also see in the chat we have Lake Nissing, Lake Tahoe, Nipissing, there we go, Lake Superior. There are so many bodies of water, and a lot of what I'm noticing is fresh water. When we think about the ocean, obviously we think salty water, we think sharks, we think coral reefs. My friends, fresh water is also connected to our oceans, our rivers and streams. Everything is interconnected. We really, really rely on our oceans. We rely on it as a source of water, as a source of food, as medicine. It inspires cultures around the world and produces a lot of the oxygen that we breathe. It's an absolutely beautiful ecosystem that we all rely on. Even when we think about some of these lakes, these fresh bodies of water, and how we might rely on them, my friends, the St. Lawrence Seaway is one of the top 5 busiest global shipping routes in all of North America. That means a lot of our packages and the things that we order, things like food, medicine, clothing, a lot of it is coming in using these streams and these rivers and these lakes. These bodies of water coming into the cities and dropping off a lot of export, a lot of goods for us so that we can use. The St. Lawrence Seaway is responsible for over 300,000 jobs alone. So a lot of people rely on this body of fresh water for food, medicine, clothing, and also their jobs. Now, landlocked communities rely on the ocean for import and export of goods. These goods can include many different things that I already listed. But what exactly are the impacts that landlocked communities are having on the ocean? How are people like us in the city that might not necessarily have access to sea turtles and big whales and sharks and things like that? How might we still be affecting and influencing these animals and these ecosystems? Issues like climate change and pollution are things that we all contribute to, no matter where we are on this planet. So let's get started off by looking at one of the biggest problems that the ocean is facing right now, which is our plastic problem. Plastic has unfortunately invaded our oceans and are one of the largest problems that both life inside and outside of the ocean is facing. I would like everybody to take this opportunity to take a look around their classrooms or wherever you may be and point out 3 things that are made of plastic. If you're in a classroom, you can whisper it in the ear of somebody beside you. And if you're in the chat, feel free to send me them and I will read them out loud for everybody. What are 3 things that we see made out of plastic? I'll try to find some stuff too. I was painting earlier, so I have a bottle of paint that's made out of plastic. I have my glasses. My glasses frames are made out of plastic. And even the clothing on my body, it's made out of plastics. All right. Did any classrooms maybe want to share with us? I don't see anything coming in the chat.
Looks like it's coming in now. We're getting some things like water bottles, markers, snack bins, tech tubs, whiteboards, chairs.
There we go. Y'all got it. Yeah, plastics are virtually used in everything that we use today. It's almost unavoidable because of how cheap and easy it is to use. I see more interest coming in: pens, ducks, water bottles, plastic bags, containers, for sure. Almost everything we use has plastics inside of it, and it's just so easily accessible. But that's a really, really big problem because plastic doesn't break down. All the plastic that has ever been created, plastic breaks down, but it doesn't disappear completely. So that means all of the plastic that has ever been produced is still on this planet. And most of the time, it's finding its way back into our oceans. Now, I have a trivia question here for us. How long do we think it has taken for half of the world's plastic to be produced? Do we think it's maybe 50 years, 30 years, 20 years, 15 years?
All right, I'm going to give a second so the classes can send an answer up to their teacher, and then we will grab a couple classrooms and see what they think. So, Mr. M, what do you think?
Michael we're saying 50.
50. Okay, let's try Miss Smalley. What does your crew think?
Most people said 15.
15. All right, let's try Miss Bailey's crew. What do you guys think? 15. I heard 15 there. What about North Bay? What do you think, North Bay? 3 4s? 15. All right. What do you think? How did we do?
I think we did really well. I think if you voted 15, you are on the right track. My friends, half of the world's plastic was produced in the last 15 years. That means some of this plastic is as old as you or might even be older than you. Even though we know how harmful plastic is, trends are showing that plastic production is still increasing. To show how much of an effect it has had on wildlife, right now, around 90% of seabirds have ingested plastic. So they have some sort of plastic inside of their stomachs. And it's predicted that if we don't do something about this plastic problem, by the year 2050, around 99% of seabirds will have plastic inside of their stomach. So it's really important that we do something about this plastic problem. Now, I keep mentioning that this plastic breaks down and it ends up in our oceans. That's because it travels through different streams and rivers and eventually ends up in our oceans. As we explored, plastics are really, really embedded into our culture and our environment. And we might think that the earth is massive and there's no way that the plastic that I'm using here is affecting people on the other side of this planet. But that's not true. Our plastic ends up in all sorts of different parts of the ocean. And I wanted to do a really fun activity with you all today and maybe track some of our plastic and see where it's ending up. So I do have a plastics tracker here. Let me pull it up. Maybe you can all send me your cities, the first 3 cities that I get, or maybe we can pick a classroom and then 2 from the chat. We'll start off with Toronto, which is where I'm from. And we'll take a look at where this plastic ends up. So I just typed in Toronto, and now we're seeing where the plastic would kind of end up in the ocean. Let's zoom out a little bit. It's taking its time kind of making its way through the provinces. We are now in Quebec. It's traveled pretty far. And now it's just going all over the place in the ocean. Oh, we've gone north. And it was lost somewhere into the sea. It looks like the Barents Sea, if anybody's familiar with that. Maybe we can try another one if anybody has anything that we wanna type or tap into, different location.
Yeah, I've got a few more here. Let's try North Bay and see where it goes.
All right, North Bay, Ontario.
And then we should definitely share the link for this because classrooms are asking if they can use this too afterwards.
Oh, of course. I would love to. Joe, I'll send it to you and then maybe we can
Perfect.
send it out. Cool. All right, so this is where North Bay is going. It's going south, south, south. Oh, we are now in the United States, making its way over to where I am in Toronto. Maybe it'll end up where my garbage ended up. Now, obviously, this is all hypothetical. It's not going to be 100% certain, but a lot of the garbage is ending up in either the East or the West Pacific garbage patches, which I'm sure some of you have heard of, which are these giant masses of plastic all stuck together. And it's just a buildup of plastic. It's bigger than some countries on our planet. So this got lost at sea as well, but this is what the North Atlantic garbage patch looks like. It's pretty much like an island of plastic because that's how much plastic we are generating. Let's try one more. Maybe we can take one from the United States and see where.
Yeah, let's do our class in California, the Lake Tahoe.
Oh, Lake Tahoe. Lake. Forgive me if I spell this incorrectly. Thank God for autocorrect. Oh.
Here, let me check with Miss Molly. What's the closest city, Miss Molly?
South Lake Tahoe, California.
All right, South Lake Tahoe. See if that comes up.
Oh, oopsies.
There it is.
Sorry for the technical difficulties. I don't know why I cannot type. There we go.
All right, South Lake Tahoe. Let's see if that'll come up for us. Yeah, there we go.
There we go. Oh. Okay, it doesn't seem to be working, and I'm so sorry. It might just be my internet problem, but we will share the link, and then hopefully you get a chance to do it together as a classroom, and then maybe you can let us know where it ended up. But my friends, this simulation really well showcases, that plastic is ending up in our oceans, and it's ending up in different parts, and it's all accumulating. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, plastic doesn't break down, so once it enters the ocean, it's probably going to be there forever. Now, one thing to also remember is that the ocean is obviously very incredibly important to us, and so is its health. We actually use it to create and manufacture a lot of things that may surprise you. So I have another really fun activity here. We are going to play a game of higher or lower. we are going to guess how much water it takes to sustain the lifestyle of each person on average and how much water is used to produce a specific item. So I will show you an item and I will tell you how much water it takes to produce it. And then I want you all as a classroom to tell us if you think that it takes more water or less water to produce it. You can show us on your fingers too, higher or lower. So let's get started off with the first one here. A family of 3 uses around 400 liters of water daily. What do we think? Is that higher or lower?
All right, let me see some thumbs. I see 3 4s in North Bay, thumbs up. Mr. M's crew looks like thumbs down. Sudbury grade 4s, thumbs up. Our group in California, thumbs up. Oh, Miss Bailey's class is going down, down, down.
All right. So it seems like most people are saying that it's got to be a little bit higher. If you voted for higher, you are absolutely correct. It's actually 630 liters on average for a 3-person household. My friends, that is equivalent to 4 bathtubs of water in a day for 3 people. All right, next one here. It takes around 9,000 liters of water for 1 pair of jeans. That is absolutely ridiculous. What do we think it could be, higher or lower?
All right. North Bay 3 4 is saying lower. Miss Bailey's crew saying lower. Our crew, grade 4s in Sudbury, say up. California says up. Mr. M's crew says down. And our North Bay crew, what are they saying? They're saying lower. Lower, lower.
Lower. All right. Well, if you guess lower, you are correct. It is lower, but not a lot lower. It's actually 7,600 liters for 1 pair of jeans. Imagine all that fresh water, right? That's like 2 annual households, way more than 2 annual households. But that's a lot of fresh water to produce 1 pair of jeans. All right, my friends, this one seems to shock a lot of people. How much water do we think it takes for an egg? Could it be higher or lower than 50 liters for 1 single egg? What do we think?
All right. Watching for some thumbs. North Bay says higher. Mr. Dunn's crew says higher. Higher for California.
All right.
Higher
Everybody's
for
guessing
Mr.
higher.
M's crew. Lower for Miss Bailey's crew. Lower for the Fantastic Fives.
All right. It seems like almost everybody voted higher. And unfortunately, you are correct. Not only is it higher, it's way higher, my friends. It actually takes around 200 liters of water for a single egg. That is equivalent to 100 jugs of water for 1 single egg. Now, when we think about producing an egg, we have to think about all the food that it takes to feed a chicken for its lifestyle, where we're going to get that egg from, shipping and how much water it takes for shipping. There's so much water included in the daily activities that we all partake in, even though we might not think about it. All right, last one here, my friends. How much water do we think it takes for a pound of beef? Could it be higher or lower than 4,000 liters of water?
All right. Watching the backstage cameras. Mr. Dunn's grade 4 say higher. Higher in California. Higher, Mr. M. Higher in North Bay. Everyone is saying higher, higher, higher.
I think that egg really got to everybody. Yeah, if an egg takes that much water, there's no way a cow doesn't. And you'd be right, my friends. It takes around 7,000 liters of water for 1 pound of beef. So we are using a lot of water to produce items. Water is incredibly important, and this activity perfectly showcases that. If we have invested in any one of these products, we are also part of consuming all of that water. But now it's really important. We've obviously looked at the different ways that landlocked communities might be hurting the ocean. But what are some things that maybe we can do to counter this? What are some things that we can do to help the ocean? OceanWise has a bunch of recommendations, and I wanted to look at them together. So the government of Canada actually banned 6 single-use items, and this was done through citizen science efforts. That means science and data that was collected from students and people around the world that were leading shoreline cleanups. When you partake in a shoreline cleanup, you're collecting data for the government to see what type of garbage and waste we're finding in our environments. So the government of Canada used that information to then ban 6 single-use items from being used. I would like to know what you all think it might be, though. So maybe we can call on somebody and hear what you think might be on this list of items that are banned.
All right, we'll give a second for a couple answers to make their way to the front of the classroom. And then we'll watch the chat too, and we'll pick on a few classrooms too and see who thinks what some of those 6 items might be.
For sure.
All right, let's go to, I think Miss Bailey has some already. What did your class think, Mrs. Bailey? Plastic straws, utensils. Those are good ones. Mr. M's crew, did you guys have any different ideas?
Plastic bags and
Plastic
Gatorade
bags.
bottles, container, kind of packs with plastic.
Oh, like food packs maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Food packaging,
Okay.
yeah.
A few more from the chat. Forks, knives, spoons, plastic bags, straws, bags. Yeah, I bet you they hit some of them for sure.
Oh, I'm pretty sure you all got almost all of them. Let's start off with classic checkout bags. We have stir sticks used for coffees and teas and different things like that. We have 6-pack rings that our pop usually comes in, cutlery, straws, and last but not least, food packaging. So I'm pretty sure we got all of them. But my friends, it just goes to show that individual action, like picking up garbage on the side of the street and reporting what you picked up, leads to collective action. So everybody working together, and that leads to lasting change. So because of people like you all recording what you're finding and learning about the ocean and learning about how dangerous, plastic can be, we're finding data, and the government is now banning those items so that they can't enter our waterways anymore. My friends, the larger impact is really important. There are so many things that we can do to help our oceans, and citizen science efforts are really taking the lead on that. Shoreline cleanups, like ones that OceanWise organizes all around the country, they get people and organizations and businesses working together to collect data, and it creates behavioral changes, and it also helps introduce policies and laws that are going to make sure that this plastic is not entering our oceans. There's also a lot of other really successful stories of ecosystems making a comeback around the world. A local one that we have in Sudbury is the Sudbury restoration story. Once the world's largest atmospheric source of sulfur pollution had a lot of biodiversity damages, and the entire ecosystem had been completely ruined. It was really dangerous there. But eventually it made a comeback because policymakers wanted to bring this ecology back. And this is what it looks like now. Hopefully, if it pops up, there we go. There's been a 98% reduction in air pollution, and it's still thriving. There have been over 10 million trees planted there, and 50% of the fish that we had lost in the area has made a comeback. So, it just goes to show that conservation initiatives exist and they are working. We just have to keep learning and keep pushing for these changes to take place. In British Columbia, we had a group of students ban cigarettes from being smoked on the beach because cigarettes are a really big issue of litter and waste in beaches and in parks. So they've been banned at this local beach, so people can't smoke there anymore, and there's no more cigarette waste. And there's also so many other community action projects like, shoreline cleanups or leading clothing swaps and continuing to learn about what's going on. And all of these things really help the ocean. Here are 3 things that OceanWise recommends that you do to protect and restore the ocean. One thing that you can do is buy sustainable seafood. So if you're ever at the market and you're buying seafood with your parents, if you keep your eye out for this little OceanWise logo here, it just means that we've already done the research and we think that this seafood is sustainable, and you can be a little bit more conscious about the food that you're eating. The next thing that you can do is lead or take part in a shoreline cleanup. So maybe you as a school, once a year, you can lead a cleanup, collect all that garbage, and then submit it to the government, and then it can help update all the waste that we're finding and then implement more laws like those plastics that we banned. And then the last thing that we can do is doing what we're doing today. We can continue learning and exploring about the ocean and about the world and what's going on. And then we can take that knowledge and tell our friends and family. Sharing this knowledge with each other, sharing what we learned today is going to keep that conversation going, get people to care and be aware of what's going on. And then we can all come together and come up with solutions together. My friends, one last thing that I will say that we can do is even change our wash cycle at home. The way that we wash our clothes really, really impacts the amount of plastics that are entering our oceans. Just by changing something like our wash cycle and even being more mindful of the type of materials that we're buying can really, really reduce the amount of plastic waste per household. OceanWise led a study to see how wash cycles might be affecting plastic production and plastic waste in the ocean. And we saw that by just changing your wash cycle to a gentle cycle and using cold water, you can reduce your microfiber shedding by 70%, which is a really, really large amount. And imagine if all of us on this call just did that, it would significantly reduce the amount of microfibers that end up in our ocean. Another thing that we can do is say no to fast fashion, maybe wash our clothes a little bit less if we don't absolutely need to, and getting a microfiber filter so that we're trapping that plastic before it ends up in our oceans. My friends, there are a bunch of things that we can do to protect the ocean. And hopefully today you all learned about the different ways that we're all connected to each other and to our earth through water. It seems like we ended a little bit early, but that just means we have more time for questions and to share stories. So maybe at this time you can scan this QR code and find out what ocean animal you are. And while we do that, we can maybe head over to our question and answer portion.
All right, let's do it. That was a great presentation. Thank you so much. Lots to think about our connected waterways. I did look up our class in California, and Lake Tahoe is one of those unique lakes in North America. It doesn't make it to the ocean.
Wow.
That is what the app was trying to tell us, is it's not going to make it to the ocean. It's a closed waterway.
That's amazing.
All right. Let's see here. Let's get some questions. So let's start off with our 3-4s in North Bay. You have a question for us.
How many liters are in the ocean?
Ooh, that's a really tough question. I'm not sure. There is a lot of water. One thing I can tell you is that the ocean takes up over 70% of our Earth's surface. So we are a blue planet, and it goes really, really deep as well. So there's a lot of water, and we've barely explored any of it. So there's still a lot of really cool animals and plants that need to be explored in that water.
So I did a quick number crunch here with our friend Google, and it is a 1 with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. 1 with 21 zeros. So that comes to 1.332 billion cubic kilometers of water. So think of a cube that's a kilometer by a kilometer on its edges, and then there's 1.332 billion of those cubes. There's a lot of water in the ocean.
Pretty much there's a lot of water in the ocean, and there's a lot of stuff that we still got to explore.
All right. Good stuff. Mrs. Bailey's 5th grader or 5th, 6th graders. Do you have a question for us?
Do we have a question? Who's got a question? Someone's got a question.
Something about water. Anything on your mind?
How much plastic waste gets released into the ocean in a year?
In a year, how much plastic waste ends up in the ocean?
In a year. Oh man. Again, something like that is hard to track because a lot of times we can't really we can't really put a number to it. I don't know if maybe there's another Google search that we can do, but I can say that plastic production is increasing. And like I said, none of that plastic is necessarily being disposed of. So most of it is ending up in our oceans. Those plastic islands that I was talking about are larger than a lot of states combined. They're larger than a lot of countries. You could drive, it could take days to drive from one end to the other end of that plastic island. So you can imagine there's a lot of plastic that is in our oceans and still being released into it.
Yeah.
Can we have a follow-up question to that?
Sure.
Is anything are there any initiatives or anything being done about those islands of plastic in the oceans?
Brilliant question. I love being solutions based. Let's be optimistic about this. So at Ocean Wise, as I mentioned, we like to lead shoreline cleanups. So that means, getting together with your friends and your family, getting, bundling up, getting your garbage bags and gloves and picking up that garbage before it ends up in the ocean or while it's along the shoreline. There are also incredible organizations that are working to collect ocean plastic with different types of technology, like big fishing nets, barriers, taking that plastic out and then recycling it into and remaking it into different, jewelry or household items. There are incredible organizations out there with amazing initiatives that are working to do it. I would say the problem is that we're wasting a lot more plastic faster than we're taking it out. So now it's really about coming together and supporting those initiatives so that we can speed up that process of collecting that plastic just as fast as it's being produced.
Thank you.
All right. I'm going to give our classes a little math homework because I haven't crunched the numbers yet, but I know from other talks we've done that they estimate about one garbage truck a minute is dumped into the ocean of plastic. So there's your math homework. So one a minute. Can you figure out a day from that if we know that there's one garbage truck a minute? Grade 4s in Sudbury.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Max.
What's made you study the ocean?
I love that question. What made me study the ocean? Oh man. So a little story time. I was born and raised in Toronto, Ontario. I've never been near the ocean, but something about it just seemed so mysterious and so cool, right? Like, how is the majority of our planet water, but we've barely explored any of it, right? So when I went to India and I would visit my family, I loved animals and I loved interacting with nature, and I just really cared about it. And I thought, you know what? We get so much and we take so much from our earth and from our planet. Maybe I can learn a little bit about it and try to give something back. So that's why I've always loved the ocean and all the animals, and I wanted to maybe help them out a little bit. And here I am talking to cool students like you about something that I love so much, which is our wonderful ocean.
Great question. All right. California. Let's go to California. Did anyone send us in a question, Miss Smalley?
Yes. What is the biggest trash island in the world?
Ooh, I would say it's probably the Pacific Garbage Patch, which is what I've been talking about. But an interesting fact is a lot of the garbage that we produce in the West ends up in countries in the East. So we're actually selling a lot of our waste and our plastic to different countries, and they get stuck with it. They don't really know what to do. I know in personal experience, when I've traveled back home, I've seen like mountains of plastic and waste and trash. So we can find a lot of it on land, but a lot of it, because of wind, streams, storms, rivers, is eventually finding its way into the ocean because of the pattern of the ocean currents and getting stuck together in the ocean and making those islands. So I would say Google the Pacific Garbage Patch if you're interested in seeing how much plastic waste there is in the ocean.
We'll do that. Thank you so much.
Of course.
All right. Amazing fours. What do you got?
My name is Isa, and why is it better to use cold water in laundry than hot water?
Ooh, great question. So imagine how heat works and how it warms things up, and sometimes heat can burn things or melt things or break things apart. That's kind of how it works with plastic too. When plastic is heated up, that's when it's going to kind of break apart or melt and kind of form those smaller pieces. So our clothing is made out of things like polyesters and nylons, different plastic materials. So when we put it in the washing machine and we use hot water, that hot water is actually damaging our clothes and it's making the threads a lot looser. And because of that, those microfibers end up in our ocean. By using cold water, we're kind of making sure that the fibers aren't getting loose and everything is sticking together nice and hard the way it needs to. And then the fibers aren't melting off of our clothes and ending up in the ocean. So not only is using cold water, better for plastic production, but it's also better for the health of our clothes too. If we wash with cold water, our clothes will last longer.
Can I just ask one other thing? Are those eco laundry strips actually better than traditional laundry detergent?
So I'm probably not the best person to ask for that. I'm going to be honest. I don't know 100%. But the thing with soaps and detergents is that most times they are going to use microbeads and microplastics in them because that's just what comes with chemicals and cleaning products. I guess it's just weighing how much is being produced with the alternative. With the plastic problem, oftentimes we think that the only solution is to completely remove plastic and never use it again. But obviously that's probably not possible because we still need clothes, we still need detergents, we still need things like that. It's just about making a choice of what type of plastic do I need and how much of it is necessary. So if those eco strips are a little bit less in plastic than, like a pod would be, then we can probably use it.
All right. Thank you, Mr. M's crew. We need to go to North Bay. North Bay, fantastic fives. Do you have a question there for us? I don't know what's going on, but for some reason you're unmuted and we hear a little bit of static. So I think the mic, for whatever reason, has decided to go down on us. Do you want to type a question in the chat for us? Sorry, fantastic fives. But the mic doesn't seem to be cooperating. We had you at the beginning. I do want to tell the classrooms that Mala put the link in the private chat. So there's a little speech bubble, private chat, and there's a link there to the oceancleanup.com/plastic tracker. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Thunder Bay. All right, we'll get their question in there. As well, we're going to have to wrap up shortly, but I know there's lots of water questions out there. So, Mal, if it's okay with you, can I share your email with the classrooms? And if they want to send a few more water questions your way?
100%. I love it. Yes.
Okay, we'll do that. We'll get our question from here we go. So our crew in Thunder Bay, not North Bay, they want to know, where does most of the data come from? How are we getting this data for areas as big as the ocean?
Mm-hmm. Amazing question. So one thing that I can say is citizen science, which I touched on briefly. Human beings like us, people like us, what we're seeing, what our lived experience is, what we are all going through as human beings, that directly gives a lot of information and data that is used by the government. So getting involved in citizen science efforts will really help us determine what is happening and what the impacts are on land. Now, as for in the ocean, just doing a simple water test in different parts of the ocean, getting a little vial and testing how much plastic is coming out from there, then multiplying that across, gallons and gallons of water, things like that. We have a lot of incredible scientists that have devoted their lives to doing experiments and testing water and learning more about it. So there's a lot of people working incredibly hard to stay consistent with collecting that data. If you ever want resources to where you can see this data and learn more about it, you can always go to oceanwise.org, or there's other organizations too, like the NOAA and a bunch of other organizations that have a bunch of data available, and they tell you exactly where they're getting it from as well.
All right. Yeah, that's great. I'm glad you mentioned citizen science. I have a friend who has an organization called Adventure Scientists, and one of their projects is an ocean project, and they send people who are out adventures, exploration. They can do that science in the field. They've collected samples from all over the planet. And the bad news is those samples always come back with microplastics. Doesn't matter how remote you are, how crazy of a location. I don't think they've ever had a sample come back without microplastics. So they are everywhere.
Yeah, I think there was a news report that came out recently that animals as large as whales and sharks are now being found with microplastics and like pieces of plastics inside of their stomach as well, just because of the food chain. So the plastic problem is really, really big. We can still reverse it. We can still do something about it. We just got to stay educated and get involved in citizen science efforts like the one that your friend has. Yeah.
All right. As we're wrapping up, Sriram says that they crunch the numbers in their grade 4 class. They think it's 1,440 garbage trucks per day. So you're going to have to check that out in your classrooms as well. Remember, it was 1 per minute. So how many is that going to source out to in an entire day? Then you could find a month, a year, whatever you wanted to do. Well, Mala, we should start wrapping things up right now. Everything, it always goes so fast. I know there's more questions out there, so I will share your email with the classrooms. Thank you so much for an amazing lesson today, sharing all your knowledge with us, answering some questions. It was a lot of fun to play the quizzes and spend some time with you and OceanWise today.
Thank you so much, Joe. I had so much fun. I always love coming to Explore by the Seat of Your Pants. It's always so fun connecting with you all. And I hope you all learned something new, and I hope you all feel, inspired to go out there and make a change for our oceans. I'll see you all out there.
All right. And let us get some loud classes. Maybe if you want to shout out. There they are. Thank you, everyone. It was great to have you with us today.
Bye, everybody.
Have a great weekend.